Hi, my name's Romy, Mushki's here, Cassie's there, and it's finally time for the Clover Cottage official tour. So it's been a little over a month since I moved into Clover Cottage, the shed that I renovated and turned into my home. And what a month it has been! Disaster, doom, dismay. I absolutely love it down here and have continued to work on things and change things and fix things and paint on my walls because I can't get enough of colour everywhere. But I wanted to share some things that are particularly close to my heart, things that are surprising favourites and that I'm utterly besotted with, and just a little tour of the space and a little rundown on how much it cost me. Now unfortunately I don't have the exact dollar figure because I lost all of my notes on my laptop, and that included all of the financial data, which once I tallied it up and put it in my notes, I got rid of all of the receipts. Some things I didn't have receipts for at that stage anyway, so it was all just compiled in my notes, which have now vanished into the ether, never to be seen again. So that's really fun. It means that I don't have the exact final to the cent price point, but I have, you know, the ballpoint park. The point of the ballpark is that I have the range of amount I spent on getting this done. Now, first of all, Clover Cottage was an existing building. This is a 3-car garage with a studio office building. The office takes up about a third of the building, and that was already enclosed and insulated. Nothing major needed changing with that, just some electrical work and lots of paint, and of course the arch being cut in the wall to conjoin everything. This part of the house, however, needed everything. It needed a lifter door taken out. It needed windows put in. How many windows did I put in? I put in 8 windows. I paid someone to put in 8 windows. It all needed lining. It needed so much paint. I purchased about 43 litres of paint in total. I used over 30 litres of white paint just to get this done. It needed plumbing. There was no water down here. All the wiring was redone. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 lights put in. You know, it needed the works. I needed PowerPoints. I needed to buy a little Wi-Fi extender so I can actually have Wi-Fi down here. So much grout and tile adhesive, tile mastic. Oh my god. Bunnings basically became my second home. I was in there almost every day. Oh, I don't have this type of screw. Great, back to Bunnings. Oh, I actually, you know, when it said it did 5 square meters of tiling, apparently it didn't do that and I need more grout. Wait, the next day I need some more again. There was a lot of grouting. There was a lot of tiling. There was so much painting. I got paint in both of my eyes multiple times. Let me just... That would have been in the... Maybe that explains some things about my vision. There were late nights spent tiling, there were late nights spent painting. There was so much activity, even though I only had one main contractor doing the work and then I had a plumber and an electrician separately. Like, I do not thrive around people. I thrive by myself. Even though it was under or maybe just around 3 weeks total, that was spread across a long period of time. So it kind of felt like, even though someone wasn't here every day, it felt like I just didn't catch a break. And at one point I did have to say, don't come back next week, I need a breather and I need to get more money. I'll get to that later. Come and explore Clover Cottage with me, brackets Caster's place. There are so many spaces in here that are just so special. A lot of my windows were reclaimed from my grandmother's house. My French doors I painted, and they were kind of one of the first things that made it feel like a home. Although getting the arch cut through, and then I had to, you know, help a little bit with the chainsaw because my builder hadn't cut it all the way through and I wanted to join the two rooms. All of the moments of painting my little windows that open up and look over my rhubarb patch that I planted a few weeks ago, and I'm gonna have so much rhubarb and I'm so excited because I love rhubarb. My lights, I've got so many beautiful vintage lights. The one just above here was $100 and it is absolutely stunning, and I was so afraid that I was gonna break it. It's like solid glass, but I literally washed it in the shower a few weeks ago because it was dusty. Then in my bedroom I've got this amazing vintage chandelier. One of the lights doesn't work and my electrician couldn't fix it because there's something with like the connector that's just wonky, so only 2 of the globes work, but it's really beautiful. I have my incredible maple leaf kind of resin light, which is apparently vintage. It's so beautiful. It really fits very well with that area because when you switch it on at night it's just an orange golden pinky glow, and that goes really well and ties in beautifully with the latch hooking that I have on my wall that my mum made me because I bought the latch hooking kit, had it in my room for 4 years and then foisted it onto her, and she made me something which was terribly beautiful. Now this little corner is absolutely one of my favourite areas of Clover Cottage. Of course it's the filming backdrop, but I also got family members to help me create the flower wall. I want to do a little bit more on it, but we all took turns and Casta has a paw print on there and everyone put a thumbprint on there, and I love the flower wall. You obviously see it all the time. It's where I do my filming, but it's such a special place, and it was something that I knew very early on that I wanted to have, like a feature mural wall. The kind of 3 things that I knew I wanted for Clover Cottage were a mural wall, lots of windows, and an arched doorway. And I got all of that, so I am incredibly happy and a little bit just stunned that my vision came to life. Like a year ago, this building looked like this. Yeah. So all in all, even though it was like 3 weeks of getting work done, there was a lot of waiting for things to be delivered. There was a lot of waiting for me to have enough money to pay people. There was a lot of, it felt like a really slow process. Like 3 weeks is nothing, babes. What are you complaining about? But it was kind of 3 weeks stretched over 5 months and yet felt constant. And it's kind of like, yeah, you weren't working that day, but you still turned up to do something. I also absolutely love a caterpillar. I feel like that just has become one of my absolute favorite spots. Everywhere that I've done art, I just love wholeheartedly. I was a little annoyed when I put the TV in that it was not as big as where I had started the center spot of the mural behind the TV. But I might fix that up at some point. Can you imagine watching a Ghibli film in that space? Because I've done it, and let me tell you, it's incredibly magical. Every time I paint, I'm like, okay, well, I've just achieved a new level of happiness I didn't know was possible, so what else am I going to paint? Because I can't stop now. The horses, of course, are... I love them so much. Buttercup and Patchy are my babies. I don't currently have enough batteries to run them both. They take... You're right, mate. You're right. They take 6 of like the chunky D batteries, so currently Patchy's only working at the moment, and I don't like to keep either of them on for too long because they're meant to be motion sensitive. They're not. They're friends with the ghost. And sometimes that's a little confronting. There's my table, which is made from an old door that I stripped with so much paint stripper and then have been painting flowers on. I need to finish that, but it is constantly covered in things because I do my sewing there with my tiny teeny baby little chair, which I love. A low window in the far corner next to my writing desk has always been one of my favorites. It was like not contentious, but I was definitely made aware that I was weird for wanting a window like at floor level, but anyone who is in this building is like, yeah, that's my favorite window. and it's so beautiful because Casta loves going over and lying on the mat over there. And I got this beautiful bird bath for Christmas, and bush chooks love going in it, and I went over today and they were eyeing me because I'd obviously disturbed them when they were having their little bath. And it's just such a gorgeous spot. You know, I can look up at this beautiful, beautiful tree, and so much of that side of the building was kind of lost for a few years. It got fenced off when there were goats here and became overgrown and completely inaccessible, and kind of dismantling the fencing and finding what was in there, and now it's got hostas growing in there and so many beautiful things. It's just the most dreamy spot to sit in, even though I have not yet sat in there, but it's only been a month. My kitchen dresser I am incredibly proud of, and I hardly even noticed the bits where I screwed it up. I do need to do some work on the runners, like give them a bit of oil so they don't squeak so terribly, but it's so beautiful and I'm so happy with it, and it just fits in perfectly. And Mushka does like going up and walking amongst all my most precious vases, which is always terrifying because I'm sure he's going to break them, but he has not yet. The kitchen bench is utterly dreamy. It's this huge slab of black wood that I bought off Facebook Marketplace for $100, and I actually ended up flipping it because I liked the underside more than the top and it was more spacious. And then my builder built this really beautiful timber frame around it that holds all of my glass bottle collection and some more vases, and I really, really love that space. The kitchen is one of the spaces I use the most, and it feels incredibly complete. There's still like mess in areas where I'm working on things or not terribly good at putting things away, but the kitchen, even though it is a bit of a mess, it feels complete. I'm having a few issues with my fridge. I do love my fridge terribly, terribly, but it seems to suffer during summer. So I'm hoping that as the cooler months return, it will suffer less, because it's constantly dripping inside and making massive pools of water. So it's not ideal, but it's very beautiful. I usually have plants sitting absolutely everywhere, and a lot of the hanging plants have come down at the moment because I am filling and painting the beams in the middle of the room. But any of the plants that were on ground level, Winston the rabbit hopped around and started eating them all, so everything had to go up a little bit, which was a minor decor disaster, but I'm coping. A detail that I really love, and I was actually inspired by when I saw this incredible person on TikTok just adding dots of magic to their home, was in the bedroom half of the cottage. I have painted little patterns and flowers and things all along the picture rail, and I just love it. I haven't done it in this part of the house yet, and I'm not sure if I will or if I'll do something different, but in the bedroom it just makes it that little bit more magical, and that is always something that I will be running after with my little nails, digging into magic and drawing it closer to me, because magic, I need it. I ended up adding quite a bit of more detail to my mural over my bed. It started off as just yellow and green flowers, and then it just wasn't enough, and I needed to continue it onto the other wall. And I was so happy when I added my little unicorn bunting that had been hanging over my bed at the house for years and years. It really it made me so terribly happy to have that back up. And then this piece of art, which was also in my bedroom but hadn't been appreciated properly for a long time. It was so lovely bringing that to like the forefront of the space. Something I didn't spend any time talking about but love so much is just, thank you Casta, the decor in my bedroom, and the way that all of these things that I have collected over the years or that have been in my bedroom came together and just seamlessly fit and worked, and how much fun I had putting it all together. And Mushka, little baby Mushka, this is Mushka. Baby Mushka. Hey Mushk. The bathroom was possibly the space that I spent the most time working on because I did tiling. And that's something that's going to come up in a future video of, you know, things that I've done that I have always hated in houses. And one thing, you know, I don't like tiling. I have never been a fan of tiling. I don't like tiling. It's not for me. And yet I ended up realizing I needed to do tiling. I didn't really have a choice, and I love it so much. I did it all myself. So it's not perfect, but it's perfect to me. And I just, you know, oh, the tiles don't fit in this space. Well, let's smash up a bunch and do terrazzo and add some pink in there. And it really ended up becoming such a huge process, a huge process. I don't know how much grout and tile adhesive and everything I used and how many hours I spent in there. I listened to so many off-menu podcasts. Oh my god, and so much rusty quill gaming. But the bathroom is a space that I absolutely love, and the other night I had a pink lush bubble bath, and it was just the pink hair and the pink tile and the pink bath and the pink bubble bath and my new tattoo, which is pink. It was just a conglomeration of magical pinkness, and I was incredibly happy and a little bit sleep deprived because it was 2:30 and I was having a bath. And like, I'm still painting the exterior, and the exterior hasn't all been weatherboarded. Two sides of it is still metal and one side still is like cedar paling. But I was working with what I could afford to do, and I don't have an expendable income, which brings us to the price. So I started out with a budget of about $10,000 Australian to get all of this building work done, and that includes buying windows, buying 43 litres of paint, buying all the materials to, you know, insulation, plasterboarding, paying my builder, paying my plumber, paying my electrician. But that doesn't include decor, like my fridge, and my bathtub was actually free. Great story there. I was gonna get it, and then I decided I wasn't gonna get it, and then I messaged them and they were like, if you can get it today, you can just have it. We'll pay you, basically. So I got it for free instead of $100. So it's like light fittings and things, but not the animals on my wall, say, or my little horsies. So the total amount that I ended up spending was $16,000. So I went a whole 6,000 Australian dollars over budget, and if I had known that that was what the price was going to be going into it, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it, because I started off with $6,000 in my account when I started this, and I was like, okay, let's say 10 to 12. Let's say 10 to 12,000 AUD, which is about £6,000, 7 to 8,000 USD. Fortunately, I got a job that was very well paying during the process, but I was also incredibly lucky that when I needed to take a break, I could just tell my builder, I need you to take a break whilst I get my money. My builder was also happy for me to pay as I could, which was great. I ended up dipping into savings that ideally I wouldn't have, and now other things have had to be put back in my life, but you know, those are choices that I was willing to make and sacrifices I was willing to make. And I'm fully aware that $16,000 to get this done is cheap. No, I quite reasonably could have expected to pay $30,000 to get this done, which would have been completely unaffordable for me. So I paid, you know, half that. But you know, there were also a few moments that I was able to lean on my mum for support and pay her back when, you know, something cropped up that I suddenly needed to pay $750 to have my hot water tank installed. So that was, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do it without that support, and I'm incredibly lucky that this was a project that I was able to manage. I was incredibly privileged and lucky to be able to lean on my mum when I needed to, and she was so generous with her time and her support, and also to find tradespeople who I guess were willing to work at competitive rates. It didn't have to necessarily be the quickest way of getting the project done. It was, I can shop around because that's what I need to do. There's only one thing I would really change, and we're not going to get into that today or ever. I don't know that I would necessarily want to do a renovation of like a big house, because I think I would be incredibly stressed. I really enjoyed this process, but I definitely, you know, could have had 4 days of a builder and no more, because I like my space and I get pretty stressed when people are in it. I am going to do another cheeky video of, you know, things that I have always loathed in homes and ended up having in mine. We're talking about tiling. We're talking about open plan living. I don't know, you'll have to see next time. But for now, that is all from me in Clover Cottage, and I'm gonna go have a cup of tea.
With the sugar!